Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Tempo Waukesha's 2021 Celebrating Women Leaders event. My name is Lorna McDaniel, and I am president of Tempo Waukesha. I am honored to have the privilege of leading this wonderful group of women, and we are so excited to have so many guests join our members in person, for today's special event. We are also excited to be live streaming this program. So welcome to all of our remote attendees. Let's give all a wave. I would also like to thank our member and former Tempo President Jessie Bauer Phipps with offering her expertise on this live streaming through her business, JPB Solutions. Last year, Tempo Waukesha would have celebrated our 30th anniversary as an organization. Like the Ryder Cup, we needed to wait an extra year. So let's wish Tempo a belated happy anniversary. Pause for some little technical difficulties. All right, so Tempo is a totally volunteer organization, and I would like the Tempo board members to please stand and be recognized as they do so much for Tempo. Tempo Waukesha provides a setting within Waukesha County for women to develop personal strengths, enhance professional talents, and increase awareness of issues and trends among the community. Tempo Waukesha provides many opportunities to connect with other professional women and to form lasting relationships among its members. Aside from our monthly luncheons, networking, and social opportunities are also available in the form of coffee and cocktail connections, healthy body series, and social outings. In addition to the personal and professional enrichment that Tempo Waukesha provides, we are also advocates for community organizations and programs that benefit women and families in the Waukesha County area. We support organizations through event sponsorships and by highlighting a different local charity each quarter, supporting them with a donation through our fund with the Waukesha County Community Foundation. Celebrating Women Leaders is our chance to showcase the talented and dedicated women who live, work, and lead in Waukesha County. I would now like to introduce one of our co-chairs of Celebrating Women Leaders, Jen Moran.
Thank you, Lorna. Our theme of grit and courage under pressure couldn't be more true than it is today. Unfortunately, my co-chair, Jan Grimm, could not be here with us. She is not feeling well. So give a shout out to Jan. She and I have been working on this event since 2019 when it was canceled, as was many other things, because of we know what. I really wish Jan was here to share in our accomplishment of holding this fantastic event. Jan is joining us via live stream, and we miss you, Jan. It has been a privilege and a lot of fun to volunteer alongside many talented women in this organization. Jan and I want to thank our committee members who worked tirelessly on making this event happen today. Jessie Bauer Phipps, Heidi Wolf, Carrie Kozlowski, Lorna McDaniel, and of course our nominating committee. Thank you to our develop sponsors, American Deposit Management, Executive Agenda, Froedtert Hospital, North Shore Bank, and Riverwater Partners, and our supporting sponsors for helping this event make this event possible. I would also like to take a moment to thank all of our in-kind sponsors for helping to make this event a success. Again, JPB Solutions for live streaming, Milwaukee Lifestyle Magazine for our media sponsor, Heritage Printing for our print sponsor, Snapdragon Floral Studio as our floral sponsor, and Wisconsin Music Ventures, who is joined by the accomplished accordionist Stas Venglevsky. Thank you, Stas. The music was wonderful. I hope everyone enjoyed shopping at the Kendra Scott pop-up shop. Thank you to the Kendra Scott team for joining us today to add a little fun, a little pearls to our event. 20% of the proceeds goes to our fund with the Waukesha County Community Foundation, which supports our quarterly giving. The pop-up will be available after the event for those wishing to check it out. You can also shop online through the store tomorrow using the promo code you see here and in your programs. So the Pearl. The Pearl was chosen as the focus of our theme because this event was, as you know, intended to be held last year during our 30th anniversary. And the 30th anniversary gemstone is the Pearl. The inspiration for the Pearl theme grew as we realized how you create a pearl by exposing sand, grit, and a high amounts of pressure. It's a metaphor for how successful professional women make a big impact in our lives, in business, and in our community. Grit and courage under pressure, pearls of wisdom from women leaders. Jan and I decided to keep that theme because of how relevant it is 2 years later. As you heard, Celebrating Women Leaders highlights the achievements of several outstanding female community and business leaders in Southeast Wisconsin. We are thrilled to recognize women that have stood out and exemplified true grit. We received many nominations this year for women leaders exemplifying that grit and courage. We are pleased to present this year Tempo Waukesha Leadership Awards to 2 outstanding women, Terry Lux and Jane Condon.
Our first award goes to Terry Lux for her professional leadership. Terry serves as president of the Frederick Menominee Falls Hospital and is chief operating officer for the Community Hospital Division of Frederick and the Medical College of Wisconsin. As part of her award, Temple Waukesha makes a donation to the award winner's charity of choice. Terry has chosen to split her donations to 2 nonprofits, Community Outreach Health Clinic and Community Smiles Dental. As we know, the healthcare industry was greatly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Part of Terry's role included strengthening partnerships within the communities served by Frederick Menominee Falls Hospital. Terry showed true grit as she worked around the clock to lead her hospital team and its safe operations. She participated in many community conversations to ensure local leaders and residents were informed about the pandemic. One of her nominators said, "Terry teaches you that true leadership is achieved with sincerity, humility, and authentic collaboration." You know that Terry is sincere and humble because of how she introduces herself as a nurse first. Only through a name tag or biography will you learn that she's in fact the president of the Frederick Menominee Falls Hospital. This is just who Terry is. She sees herself a frontline healthcare worker serving side by side with hundreds and hundreds of employees under her leadership. Her leadership during the pandemic offered even more assistance to the community she lives and works in by her efforts to lead and advise Community Smiles Dental in their efforts to expand and rebrand. As Renee Ramirez says, with Terry's astute advice, we were able to design and launch an emergency care program model within 1 week of the Safer at Home order, so that we could keep dental emergencies out of our already taxed emergency rooms. We can't think of a more fitting year to honor Terry with this Professional Leadership Award. Let's give a round of applause and welcome Terry to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. I'm truly humbled. To begin, where you stumble, there lies your treasure. Joseph Campbell. When you stumble, it is grit and courage that will guide you forward, and I can think of no better reflection of grit and courage than the activities of the past 18 months. A time when we have all been tested, a time when we have all stumbled, and yet have chosen to rise up in the face of fear and carry on for the better good. As women leaders, you have showed up with determination, grit, and courage, and that is to be honored and celebrated. For it reflects your ability to lead amidst the incredible pressure of a force so unrelenting that it has most likely challenged you to your core to question your own personal connection to purpose. However, these challenges, albeit so forceful, it has caused us to reflect on our values. And those values are what carry us through. It is your values that bring you wholeness, peace, and joy. They have an immense power to lift you up when you stumble, to provide you strength, and to connect you to purpose. I believe strongly that it is faith, hope, and love to give us the ability to transcend any obstacle, to nurture our connection to purpose, and to serve the greater good with grit and courage. So you are here today for a purpose, to nurture a sense of belonging, a need for encouragement, potentially just an opportunity to breathe or reflect. So whatever your reason, I wish you strength and grace for the journey, knowing that the decisions you make and the actions that you take will require grit, courage, a healthy dose of humility, and a strong sense of humor. So thank you, Renee, Elizabeth, Emily, and Community Smiles Dental. You truly are a force for good, creating healthy smiles, one beautiful soul at a time. Thank you to Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin for giving me my connection to purpose. And thank you, Kathy Jacobson, for being an exquisite advocate, role model, and brilliant reflection of what it means to be a woman leader. Thank you.
Our second award goes to Jane Condon for her community leadership. In 2015, Jane helped start 100 Plus Women Who Care, Milwaukee Metro West, which brings together the strength of women to collectively contribute to organizations by donating $100 4 times a year to a local charity. Despite not being able to hold in-person meetings last year due to the pandemic, the group raised nearly $34,000 through a drive-up, walk-up campaign. Jane's positive efforts continue to create an environment for its members to be aware of organizations that need help and are making a positive difference in our community. As her friend Karen Loeb says, Jane has always been motivated by the desire to see the strength of many women working together to make a substantial difference in our community, because we can accomplish so much more as a group. In just 6 years, the 100 Plus Women Who Care has raised over $140,000 as a united group. Nonprofits such as the Women's Center, Variety the Children's Charity, Hebron House of Hospitality, the Food Pantry of Waukesha County, and Elmbrook Senior Taxi are just a few of the organizations that have been able to make significant improvements and purchase needed equipment and items to further their mission. Angela Mancuso of the Women's Center says it best. Jane and 100 Plus Women Who Care have done a great job making philanthropy less intimidating and offers a platform for women of any means to participate while informing and educating their members about the power of giving. As part of Jane's award, she has chosen the Women's Center as her charity of choice. Let's give a round of applause to Jane and welcome her to the stage.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be standing here today to receive the Community Leadership Award. The theme of grit and courage under pressure is so timely now, especially after the challenges of the last 20 months. Author Angela Duckworth defines grit as a combination of two things. One is having a sustained commitment to some goal that you hold dear. The second thing is endurance in your effort. My goal of serving our community has been a joy and a privilege. It wouldn't have been able to do it if it weren't for the amazing 100 women who, like myself, share a mutual goal of enriching our community through support of local deserving charities. Two very special members are here today, my co-leader Kathy Olson and Heidi Wolf, who nominated me for this award. Thank you both for your support of me and for our mission. I also would like to thank my husband Pat for his unending support and being here this afternoon. The notification of my selection for the award was such a wonderful call, and the bonus news of $500 going to a charity of my choice was just awesome. I chose the Women's Center Waukesha for their important work to serve those who face abusive relationships. And Hannah Harris is present today to receive the award from Tempo. What happens when a single person's action is multiplied by 100 people? What happens when 100 people pool their resources to make a difference? Together, we can become a powerful source for change. As all of you know very well, the past 20 months have been challenging and we have faced many hurdles. We had grit and courage and endurance to maintain our efforts toward our goals, and you heard some of them before. The extent that we had to go out of the box and think of what we can do other than just our normal meeting was really an exercise in pursuit and endurance toward that goal. So I want to extend an invitation to join us at our next meeting on November 16th. We have placed brochures out at the guest table, check-in table. So feel free to take one or ask one of us that are members if you would like to know how easy and learn more about how easy it is to make a difference in our local community and have a substantial impact on the lives of many. In closing, I'd like to share a quote from my alma mater, Marquette University President Michael Lovell, as he welcomed the class of 2025 this fall. He said, "No matter where you are from or what talents you have, each of you has the capacity to accomplish the extraordinary." So thank you for honoring me with the Community Leadership Award.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Terry. We will be taking a short break while we reset the stage, so please enjoy your meal that will be coming out soon. And we will be back in a few minutes. Live stream audience, please don't go away. Hello, everyone, and I hope you're enjoying your meal. We're going to continue the event now with our keynote speakers. Now I have the privilege of speaking with two leaders in our community. Through grit and courage under pressure, please welcome Beth Winook and Jennifer Bartolotta to the stage. For those of you in the audience who haven't read about Beth or Jennifer, I will give a brief overview. Most people know, I'm going to stand for a minute. Most of you know Beth, will call her a change agent who doesn't shy away from a challenge, focusing on getting the best out of people and organizations she leads. She calls herself a builder. And the great thing about being a builder, she says, is that you don't do it alone. You build with people. That kind of leadership has worked to her advantage in her 25-year career as a bank and financial executive, as she has climbed the corporate ladder from CFO at Mount Mary University to director at Exonia Bank and as regional president of PNC Bank, and now at Riverwater Partners as a financial advisor. In 2019, Beth joined forces with other women as one of the founding organizers of First Women's Bank, an innovative, women-led commercial bank on a mission to bridge the gender gap in access to capital. Change agent indeed. Beth is a native of New York, graduating from the University of Buffalo, or the University of New York at Buffalo, and earned her MBA from Case Western Reserve University in Ohio. She draws inspiration from her faith and her teenage son, Jake, whom she raises as a single parent after the death of her husband, Tim, in 2018. Welcome, Beth. Many of you know the Bartolotta name and might have seen Jennifer speak at various events in and around Milwaukee. But did you know that as president of Bartolotta and Associates, Jennifer weaves her deep roots in both the hospitality industry and corporate America with the neuroscience and tenets of trauma-informed care? This is really interesting. I found the Bartolotta organization focuses on training employers to cultivate a supportive culture where employees feel seen and heard to achieve their best performance. Wow, I didn't even know that existed. Yeah. Jennifer has a deep empathy for others and focuses on philanthropy, mentorship, and empowerment to be an inspirational women leader in our community. Her community engagement goes deeper, with her goal of strengthening and lifting the Milwaukee community by using her talents to advance the arts, theaters, museums, and schools in the area. Prior to Bartolotta and Associates, Jennifer worked alongside her late husband, Joe, at Bartolotta Restaurants as both the director of sales and the director of Carolata, the charitable arm of Bartolotta Restaurants. The Milwaukee community is very lucky to have such an engaged leader as Jennifer in their community. Welcome to both of you. I know from Jan that the two of you have a deep friendship and a shared connection, which is why both of you are joining us today to talk about your experiences. The tragic loss of both of your husbands, along with many professional accomplishments as women leaders in your community, have offered deep insights into what grit and courage is all about. You've both been through a tremendous amount of change in the last few years. In sharing your brief bios, we've learned a little bit more about you and your involvement in the world of work and of your community. But tell us, how would you describe yourself today? What have you been doing? Jennifer, let's start with you.
I have a delay, sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. I think you got to turn your mic off. And it feels really awkward to have my back to you. I'm going to try to do justice to this side of the room, but we're doing the virtual thing, so I'm faced this way. How would I describe myself today? I would tell you that today my husband wouldn't recognize me emotionally. I have spent almost the last 2 years learning about trauma, and I now speak about that publicly. And it is often said that we teach what we most need to learn, and that would absolutely be the case for me. I work to help people navigate life. I have a session that I used to call "You're Just Gonna Have to Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable." And I call it the user manual, YOUSER, and it's not a misspelling, it's with intention. When you think about a car, you have to take classes before you can earn a permit to drive said car. Then you have to spend so many hours driving the car. You have to get a license, you have to get insurance. The car comes with a really robust encyclopedic menu right in the glove box for you. Your car has diagnostics. It tells you when you're running low on gas. It tells you when your tire pressure's low, and a check engine light comes on. My car even tells me when I'm straying out of my lane and I didn't put my blinker on. You go to drive the car. There's lanes you have to stay in. There's signage on the road that's informational, directional signage, educational signage, warning signs, signs you have to obey. But here's the problem, folks. We are far more complicated, far more powerful, and far more dangerous than a car is ever going to be, and we come with none of that. None of it. And that's why we're in trouble today. That's why people who trade in mental health say that we are in the midst of a global mental health crisis, another pandemic. And I work in that space to help people have their own user manual, much like a car has it. So I earned a certification in trauma-informed care from St. A. I'm in the midst of an intensive year-long program looking at trauma from all kinds of different lenses. Right now, we're looking at it through the lens of Indigenous people. And I am trying to use what I have learned to help us just navigate life a little bit more easily.
What was the question again? I know. I'm gonna ask for grace from everyone today, because this is the first time that I'm actually gonna speak. First off, I don't like to speak about myself. So even when you were describing me, I'm wondering who that person is. But I'll ask for grace, because I hope that there's some things I might be able to share today that might help even just one person in the room, as my good friend here, Jennifer, said. So the question.
Yeah, so you've been through a tremendous amount of change.
It's sort of where am I today and how would I describe
That's
myself?
right. Well, yeah, like, how would you describe yourself today, and what have you been doing?
Yeah. So I think very similarly. In fact, some of you in the room may not recognize me. Now that's in part because COVID, I've grown my hair, okay? So I'll start with that and some levity. But what have I been doing? I describe the journey that I've been on as walking it out. I talk often in terms of walking it out, because ever since the loss of my husband, which was the ultimate change in my life, I've been walking through grief. I spent the first year following his death covered in a lot of darkness and didn't really know what I would do. So all those accomplishments meant very little to me at that point, because I had lost the love of my life. All the plans that I had for my life changed in an instant. And I began after that year to really say to myself, to your point, what do I want to be? What am I going to do? And the only thing that got me out of bed at that point was my son. She talked about Jake. He was a freshman at the time, just entering high school. And I thought, he deserves to have a mother. And so I got out of bed every day for Jake. Thank God, because it wasn't for a job, But from that point, I did have an opportunity. It's funny how life works. You go through these things and you get to periods of silence where you're doing a lot of thinking and contemplating. And at that time, there's a friend in the room here who put my name forward to these women in Chicago. And yes, they came to me and said, hey, would you like to help build this bank, this woman-led bank? And I said no for a couple months. I didn't think I was ready. And frankly, I told people I used to be smart, but grief had taken that from me, and I felt I couldn't do it. But they believed that I could. And so I did have an opportunity to work alongside that group of women, to start that bank and to serve on the board while it was an organization. And it gave me a place to mentally bring myself back, to the surface, if you will. I'm actually, as I said, I'm walking it out. I'm walking through that. I have stepped away from that board as I've continued to walk through my process. And I just recently stepped away from my investment because I'm walking towards other things. And I'll talk a little later about this, but this process of holding an open hand to my life and not holding things so tightly, being able to walk through and walk away from things is getting easier for me. And I think, again, the death of my husband was an ultimate lesson in that. The other thing I've been doing is I've been working, as you said, with Riverwater Partners. Adam Peck and Laura are here today. They started this firm. It's an ESG investment firm, and they started it in 2016. And I had met Adam through business and was reconnected with him while I, as I said, was covered in a lot of grief. And he showed me compassion and believed in me as well and said, hey, I'd love you to join our advisory board. And I thought, really? I'm not even doing anything right now. And I said yes to that. And then he asked me if I would work with them. I've not been working as a financial advisor, but I have been consulting and working on project work with them. I call myself Gal Friday, and I'm actually okay with that. So all those titles mean nothing to me. I'm supporting people for success, and that's been a privilege. The last thing I'll tell you that I've been doing, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of value in it because you don't get paid for it, but I've been walking alongside other people that have been experiencing loss and grief. I have a new appreciation for the compassion and empathy that people need in this world. And COVID, you know, my life went from being really big to being very small overnight, and then all of you joined me, right, in March of 2020. And when you joined me, people started experiencing their own loss, the loss of the life that they had, some of them marriages, friendships, family members, and so I've been spending a lot of time loving people and walking with them through their grief and sharing my experiences. So I'm going to leave you with this because I would say I don't have a position right now necessarily, but I'm in the waiting room. And I explain it as I'm in God's waiting room, and I'm a ... So yet to be determined.
Thank you. Thanks both. So part of what we're here to talk about today is grit and grace, and it sounds like both of you are giving yourself that, and hopefully you're surrounding people who also give you that. Now that we know you a little bit better, you've both had successes, some of which have been widely published, and you've both experienced failures, things that didn't work out as planned. Talk to us a little more about how these concepts have impacted your life.
I'm going to talk about failures. Things that I did, things that Joe and I did are widely out there. And this question is something I had been thinking about even before it was posed as part of my own healing process. And I can trace all of my failures. They all have the same lineage. They all share exactly the same lineage. And they're all rooted in fear. Every single one of them. My greatest failure was 3 years ago this month. Joe and I took our last trip together. And we hid it, but the reality is that Joe had had 3 heart attacks. He had 7 stents in his heart, and he'd had a kidney transplant. And while his death was not imminent, he was not in the best health. And he had this dream of renting an RV and driving up the north end of California up into Oregon. And we were supposed to get to Portland. We never made it there. And we decided that we were going to mosey our way up the California coast. And 2 nights we stayed in the Great Redwood Forest. And on both of those nights, as I was going to bed, plugging my phone in, I realized I had no service. And I spent both of those nights in about a 8-hour panic attack because I was terrified at the thought that something would happen to him, and I didn't even know which way to turn on the road. I didn't even know if I could get the RV going by myself, which way I was going to go. And for what? For what was, I was cranky the next 2 days. I wasn't myself. I was not in a place where I could express my fear to him. And so that's a communication issue in a partnership when you're cranky and you can't tell your person why you're cranky. And that is my last greatest failure. And so today, I work really hard to stay out of fear. It is, for me, a self-creative narrative, and one that I have allowed to occupy far too much space and far too much of my finite human capital on. And so I have built structures in my life to keep me out of that space. But I will tell you that fear has been my failure, and it is my goal to not ever have to say that again.
So when I think about, the concept of failure, I'd say most of my life didn't turn out as I planned for it. If I look at the arc of my life, I had lots of things I thought I would be on Broadway. I know that's hard to understand, but I did. I didn't think I'd be a banker, let's put it that way. In fact, people used to say, "You're a banker?" And I'd say, "No." So I don't think my life really has turned out as I planned, but it's turned out beautifully with the successes and with the failures. I think all of us are going to experience things in our life that don't turn out as we planned. The ground's going to open up one day, and there's going to be a change. Maybe you planned for it, maybe you didn't plan for it. And it's really, what will you do with that? I've been talking recently and sharing this concept of life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And when you see life that way, you stop seeing yourself as a victim to your circumstances. When I look at my professional career, I would say that I've had many seasons of successes. And I feel good when I reflect on those successes and the accomplishments. I'm not sure, is that me or is there a... Okay. I don't want to be distracted, I'm sorry. I feel good about when I reflect on those accomplishments, but honestly, they were seasons for me. There were times where I would come into, I'd call it birth of a vision and death of a vision. I'd come into an opportunity, I would have success, and then I would walk out of that opportunity. And sometimes I walked out on my own volition, and other times I didn't. And when I didn't, it was really a time to reflect. I've heard a couple times that it's not a good fit. I don't know if anybody's heard that here. And the first thing you think about when you say not a good fit is you think of, well, this is about me. And about me. And honestly, what I can tell you is that when I hear fit now, I know we're trying to resolve this, I'm sorry. Should I just take it off? It's okay. Yes? Better? Sorry. I know I kept trying to, that was a failure. Something didn't go right, and it might have been me. I'm holding on to it. It might be my energy. Okay, so where was I? I was kind of talking about, so life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, and it's a door, and I was saying about fit. I used to think that that was about me, and I think the loss of my husband, albeit, the unimaginable happened to me. And I remember saying to myself, and saying to my husband, frankly, as I was driving him to the hospital, that I was going to save his life. And I had no business saying that. I could never save his life, right? Life was happening for me at that time. A door was going to open for me. And it's taken me this many years, I'm on year 3, to really see my life this way. That I no longer hold on to things so tightly, that I focus so much on the goal of it and saying, I have to do this, but instead hold an open hand to it and allow it to come and go for the season that it's there for, and appreciate what it's there for.
So, based on these difficult circumstances, are you a different kind of leader or person? What did you learn about yourself? How did you get through? Any advice?
I keep forgetting about the delay. I'm sorry. There's no question I'm not the person. Hello? Okay. Hi. Hi. Before this, I met with somebody who some of you in the room may know, and I'm not going to share who it is, but you don't have to look far to find somebody who's got it more challenging than you do. And we were talking about this idea of moving, and I will tell you that the three things that have gotten me through and gotten me to where I am today, the first thing is to allow and to receive. I'm not a good allower. I'm a fixer. My job has always been to fix other people's shit, literally. My family, my friends, the company, you name it, I'm the fixer. And that makes me not a good allower, right? I'm not good at receiving. And so I had to learn to allow. The first allowing that I did, I had a brother who lives in Florida who literally moved in with me for a month after. Look, I'm not in denial. I know Joe died. I prefer to say he made his great escape. But I learned a Potawatomi term last night in class that he walked on, and I kind of like that. So when Joe walked on, one of my brothers literally moved in and did everything for me for a month. I was incredibly blessed to be surrounded by a group of people who were not going to allow me to get small and retreat. And they held me and continue to hold me today. So allowing and receiving is the first thing. The second thing I would say that's gotten me to a place where I can be here with you talking about this is I decided that I was going to refuse to live from a place of scarcity. So when Joe walked on, I lost my best friend, my husband, my business partner, and then, less than 10 months later, I had to walk away from the company that we had spent 20 years almost working on together in exchange for a note that's it's subordinated and it's unsecured. And then COVID happened. And, it is not my brother-in-law's fault that COVID happened, but the reality is I might not ever get paid. And I could not simply live as a victim. I simply couldn't live with this idea of scarcity that I don't have a husband, I don't have a company, I don't have a job. And as it related to the public in Milwaukee, which is significant over the years between people that worked for us and people I worked with in the community, I didn't have an identity anymore. I knew who I was. But the public didn't know who I was. Everything that they knew about me had been stripped away and was gone. And I just decided that I needed to find a different way. And I needed to figure out how to keep moving. And so the second thing that I'm going to share, the last thing I'll share with you, the third thing, is what I call microdosing resilience. And what microdosing resilience to me means, and it began on the second day after Joe walked on. I woke up that morning and I said, you know what? I'm going to make it out of bed every single day. I'm going to get up every day. And I did. I didn't always shower. There were long stretches of time that I just simply wasn't hungry. But I got up. And then what I've learned to do is set up my day so that all day long I have these guideposts. And I hit these guideposts every single day. This isn't a one and done for me. This isn't something that's going to go away next month or next year. These are things I do every single day, every week, every month, and I'm going to have to do every year until the day I die to keep moving with my life. And so the first microdose is doing what I used to take for granted. I get up. That's a victory for me. I have a daily spiritual practice. I exercise every day. I spend time outside every day. I spend time with people. Beth talked about the importance of people. There's you and there's me. And when we come together and we overlap, there's only two things that's going to happen in that space: harm or healing. And we all need a lot of healing right now. And healing doesn't mean doing this. Healing's just being with Beth yesterday on a Zoom call and saying, hey, how you doing? That's healing happening for both of us. I am in the presence of people who haven't been through great trauma and grief, and when we're together, we're healing. Because if we're not harming, we're filling our tanks. And so I have these little, what I call micro doses of resilience built into my entire day, so that when I go to bed at night, no matter what happened, my mom was rushed to the ER 6 weeks ago. It was a horrible day for me, but I'd done my resilience. I'd done my microdoses, and at the end of that day when I went to bed, I'm like, you know what? You had a good day. You built resilience. You're increasing your tolerance to be able to navigate in this space that you find yourself in. So those are my little nuggets. Here, you want this back? I know you do.
Let me see.
Yes, I know you do.
All right.
Try that.
All right.
We'll go with what's working, right?
Okay, so question is, am I, oh, sugar. Are you a different kind of leader or person? Yeah. And what's gotten me through, yeah. I'm 100% changed. I don't know how you could go through the unimaginable and not be changed. The end's not always what you think it's going to be either. The ending of something is the birth of something else, but it's spectacularly painful. And I would say what's gotten me through is my faith. It's not always the popular answer, but it certainly has been for me. God sustained me in all of my quiet moments of reflection and prayer. He's not only been with me, but he's brought people to me. And those people have come. Some of them I've known, some of them are here today, and they brought their care and their love to me. And some people that I didn't know who are now in my circle because they came to me and said, Beth, I want to know you. I want to help you if I can. So I'd say for people that go through something like this, and even if it's not this kind of loss, any kind of loss or grief, I agree with Jennifer. People make that difference. I have a few, I know you said you wanted to hear some what we would call pearls of wisdom, right? And I wrote a couple notes because I wanted to make sure that I remembered them, because they're things that I hold for myself that have helped. First one is, and you talked about fear, Jennifer, and I'd say, don't fear change. Change is a part of life. As you heard me say earlier, hold a hand open, because when you can accept change in your life and you don't get so focused on the goal, you lose sight of what the purpose may be and stepping into a purpose for your life. I recently, as part of my book club, read a biography of Louisa May Alcott. It was by Susan Cheever, and she was describing how Louisa May wrote Little Women. Many of us in this room have read it, and it's a masterpiece, right? I didn't realize this, but Louisa May spent most of her life experiencing a lot of loss, a lot of grief. That idyllic family that you saw was nothing like the family she grew up in. And she spent her life trying to write a masterpiece. She wrote so many stories, and none of them were a masterpiece until she wrote the book she didn't want to write. She stopped trying, and the masterpiece came. The other thing I'd say is love people. You can do a lot of things in this world, accolades for achievements and awards and positions and titles, and they will all fall away, and you will be remembered for none of it. But you will be remembered for the impact that you could make in people's lives. And love is something that sometimes people say, but how do I do that? Sometimes it's just a kind word, it's a time commitment, it's patience with somebody. And by the way, it isn't just loving the people who are easy to love. What I found on this road is it's loving the people that are hard to love. That's when you're changed, and that's when people are changed. The last thing I would say is ask yourself powerful questions. The ability to think and for us to reason is a gift from God. I spent many, many hours and still do asking big questions of God. Why? Why me? Why this? Why this time? And I feel like if you can be self-aware and self-reflected, not just in the moments where it's gone wrong, because you'll have them, but the moments of success too. Take that time to see, what is the lesson in this? What am I supposed to be understanding? What does this teach me? Who am I? What do I value? As you walk this earthly pilgrimage, you will find more fulfillment. Answers will come. And I promise you, even if you're in a waiting room and you're a ... like me, those answers will come and you'll step into the great purposes for your life.
I hate to end this conversation because I feel like we could even go deeper. But both of you have really shared with us a lot of empathy and emotion that you want us to use in our own world, that you've shown yourselves. And that is giving yourself grace. You've shown us that you're now moving forward through grit and courage under pressure, and that our stories, we don't know where they will go. So thank you both. Thank you both so much for sharing with us. I'm honored to be just a small part of this conversation and just to sit here with both of you and listen. So you both are an inspiration, and we admire your leadership. I'm sure what you've shared today resonates with many of us, so thank you so very much. Thank you, Beth and Jennifer. Now, before we end, we are going to lighten up the mood just a little bit. So everybody take a deep breath. And we have some door prizes that we'd love to give out. Kendra Scott was generous, and she gave us 2 door prizes along with another door prize from one of our members.
Boy, let's give another round of applause to that wonderful, wonderful conversation. All right, so this is now a little bit of fun here. So we're giving away a couple of Kendra Scott items and a bottle of sangria. So our first prize is for the Kendra Scott pearl-themed necklace.
I already took it.
Oh, you already picked it? Okay, all right. Oh, we need our...
Maybe I should read it.
Yeah, well, I don't want it, yeah.
Oh, wait, you just put it back in.
Well,
This is
That's
Beth Weinecke. This is the one I picked.
you did. All right, Beth Weinecke.
From
So,
North Shore Bank.
okay, so wait till you'll be able to pick the prizes up after at the registration table. So congratulations, Beth.
This is for the necklace.
That is for the necklace. Okay, the next one is for the pearl-themed earrings. Vicky Vogt. All right. Hey, congratulations. All right, and now our last prize is for a bottle of Lavino, sangria. It's donated by our Temple Waukesha member, Jennifer Clearwater.
It's her side hustle.
And Jennifer is the producer and distributor of the Lavino Sangria, and you can find her sangria in Ray's Wine and Spirits in Wauwatosa. All right, and Sandra Sierra from Executive Agenda has won the bottle of wine. So I want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, and we hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Remember, Kendra Scott is still going to be available for you to take a look at their jewelry, and it's just been such a delight to see so many people in person.
Bye. Peace out.